Welcome to the Blind Apex Podcast, where amateur club racers tune in to get faster.
I'm your host, Khan Jonturk, and this is the Blind Apex Podcast. On this episode of the Blind Apex Podcast, we're going to talk social media and marketing. Sort of a follow-up to the sponsorship episode I had earlier this year. I had a lot of DMs from you guys asking about how do you get better. I happened to run across this individual. She was paddocked next to me at a Summit Point event earlier this year. She still hasn't been bump drafted in her E30, so guys, get on that. Welcome to the show, Liv Willis of Horsepower Marketing. How are you doing today?
Hey, and thank you for having me. I'm pretty excited to be here. And yes, the bump draft love is real. I should say envy, actually.
Well, you know, you've been improving your game. You've been stepping it up in your E30. So it'll come. You know, you had to get to a certain speed so the other guys would want other folks. I always say guys. I'm terrible about that. But, you know, the other folks will want to give you that nudge, you know. So you're getting there. Yeah. You're working on it, though. I've seen your posts and your progression, so it's good. Yeah. So what have you been up to with your E30?
You know, it's been a season of seat time. Just lots of track days, lots of time at the track, trying to get faster, looking at data, driving with other people on track. You know, I'm so lucky that car is just so turnkey. Other than the consumables, I haven't had to do much at all in terms of maintenance. It's definitely a solid little race car, and I have more fun the more I learn how to go even faster. So I'm pretty excited to race this weekend.
Yeah, we're recording before the Summit Point June Joust event with NASA Mid-Atlantic. It should be pretty exciting. You're right, those E30s, they're pretty simple and they're pretty reliable. They're not Miatas. So you guys actually take a beating pretty well. I had a little run-in with a spec E30 at VIR, traded a little paint. Well, her paint got on my car. My paint isn't flat, so it doesn't just transfer. But yeah, it's good times. No real damage, unlike the Miatas. So, and you guys run metal bumpers and stuff, so you're pretty good for that.
You're definitely not like they used to. You know, they're 80s tanks.
Yeah, little German tanks.
I don't think people realize that they weigh 2,700 pounds.
Well, yeah. Is that what you guys need to weigh these days? 2,700 pounds?
Yeah.
They needed to lower your weight, I think, when you guys switched in the Maxxis, but we'll digress if we get too far that way.
Then we'd be so much faster than Honda Challenge, though.
Oh, yeah. You guys should have Hoosiers, and then you just whip us up real good. Super easy. Maybe Baby Cabetta would, but...
Oof, just take the fun out of racing when you add that bill to it.
Oh, yeah. The hoo-hoo bills are not cool. I complain about my Toyo bills, so... So you run Horsepower Marketing, and you have clientele, corporate clients that you work with every day. I'm assuming they're mostly motorsports related. I think I know one, but you know, who do you work with on a daily basis?
I'd say I'm very lucky because I just started publicly offering services not only to the automotive and racing world, but also to the equine world, which is also just a very familiar territory for me. And I saw a need for it in my local area. And I already had friends that were looking for help. So it was kind of a comfortable place to transition to. But I'm very lucky in that I got started with this whole business thing when I was working with OG Racing. I was actually an employee there full time working in sales. And when I went to leave that company, one of the things that they asked me to do was to keep running their social media. And I said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. I figured out how to, open up an LLC, got pretty into that. And then the job that I had left OG for, I got laid off because this was the beginning of COVID. So then I'm jobless and I didn't have anything to do all day. So I took the initiative to kind of figure more out about what I could do with marketing and what I was particularly interested in, thinking that if I pick something I'm really good at and interested in, if I pick something I'm interested in doing, then I'll be good at doing it, right? That's kind of the general thought process with that. At a year and a half on the computer taking online courses, and there's so much information on the internet that's even free that you don't have to pay for. I started to find, the kind of work that I liked doing, and I was able to carry on that same type of work with OG and expand to other clients, not just like safety suppliers, but aftermarket parts manufacturers and organizations that host track days that want to market their events. So it's all these different aspects of the motorsports industry. And even though they're all different, they feel very similar and familiar because it's still that motorsports subject that, hits close to home.
Yeah. And you're just talking about the two most expensive hobbies in the world, right? The equine
unfortunately,
hobby
yes.
and then racing. Yeah. I mean, but they all have businesses that surround them. They all have partnerships, let's say. Most of the people listening to the show would be looking for sponsorship of some type. During my sponsorship podcast, we defined it as a partnership just because there's a lot more that goes into it. It's not free stuff. There's work. I think we're going to get into that. But yeah, that's the struggle, right? Every niche, you enjoy both of those niches, right? You enjoy racing and you enjoy equestrian activities, and they all have businesses, events. There's a market to sell to. I mean, everybody has to buy something. It's not a free hobby, right? We're not stamp collecting is not even free, but we're not like pressing flowers into books, right? We're actively engaging in things. And so we have consumables, we have equipment needs, we have these things, and they're all not all, but mostly event based, right? So there's a whole 100%. Business ecosystem around them. So
there is, and it's unique business ecosystem, even like differentiating between like the horse racing industry and the car racing industry. If you look at just where we live in the DC metropolitan area, this is a very transient and affluent area. We have a lot of government workers that live here, and there's a lot of people that are lucky and can afford to make a small business a priority in their lives. And a small business is more likely to work with someone like me, if you know what I mean, because right. I'm also a small business, and it may not be something that they want to devote all of their time to, but they want to, have something to show for it. It's more of a hobby, I think, is what I'm getting at.
Right.
And that's what makes marketing these areas so fun, because they really are, at the end of the day, hobbies. They're not essential. Maybe if you're doing farm work, in the agricultural industry with a horse, but none of these things are essential, like we learned through COVID.
These activities that we're participating in, we want to have some sort of recognition, right? That's why we give away trophies at the races. I don't know exactly how the equestrian side of things work.
Ribbons. Instead of trophies.
Okay, ribbons. But you earn these ribbons and you get recognition and you get sort of this clout. But trophies and ribbons, they've been around for 50 years. And the new clout machine is social media. And the clout that you gain can get you more than ribbons and trophies. So let's talk a little bit about how to grow your social media and how to sort of focus it.
That is a great subject.
Yeah. So obviously I have the podcast. I'm trying, it's also an LLC, but for various reasons, mostly in case I say something ridiculous and somebody tries to sue me, I have some sort of way out. You know, you can have my laptop and my microphone collection. But I'm still trying to grow my brand as far as the podcast goes, but I'm also trying to grow my brand as a race car driver. And so
your personal brand.
Yes, my personal brand. It's hard to explain because I personally don't put a lot of personal stuff out there. So it's not about me, the person. It's about me, the person, as a race car driver. That's generally how I keep my social media. Now, not always. Obviously, like I'll post some ridiculous stuff like my wife and I hiking 40 something miles in the woods for no good reason. But in the meantime, not in the meantime, but just in general, I keep even my personal Instagram per se. My personal Instagram is linked to my personal Facebook. It stays pretty car related. So I just keep it that way. But that's the brand I want. I want to be, I don't even consider myself a real race car driver, but I want to be that sort of go-to person for whatever I'm doing. 8th gen Civics right now. That's my new car, so that's what I'm doing. But I have to establish and build that brand. My old car, I called it the Civic of Doom, and people ran with it. They liked it. They came up to me in the paddock and was like, "That's the Civic of Doom." I haven't figured out the new car quite, but it lived up to its name, so I don't want to name it. I refuse to name my car. But go ahead.
The example of the Civic of Doom is like a great example of how you kind of built this part of your personal brand. And 100% with what you were saying about how you wanted your content, your personal branded content, to be more in the race car subject. That makes sense. And you'll also see a lot more success that way, because if someone follows you because they want to see stuff about Honda Challenge race cars, then they may unfollow you or not want to follow you if they're seeing all this other content kind of sprinkled in there. Sometimes people are very direct with what they're looking for or what they think the content subject matter should be on your page. So staying on brand is definitely a healthy avenue for that. But I think that you need to find an equally awesome name, for the Civic of Doom replacement. There has to be something funny. And honestly, if you don't come up with a name for it, then it will eventually name itself, whether it be from friends being silly around the paddock, all of those things. And on that subject of being in the paddock and building a personal brand, if you're trying to position yourself to get noticed by anyone, be it more like-minded Honda Challenge racers or sponsors or potential partners, whatever you want to call them, personal branding is how you do it. Personal branding is just a fancy way of saying how you present yourself online. And the cool thing about our online reputation is that we have complete control over how we shape it, because we are able to choose what we want to be seen. When you're out at the track with your friends and you guys are talking about race car stuff and someone says something funny, that's a really good idea to kind of take note of it or, use it as inspiration when you're making a post about how the weekend went. I'm all for people being as present as possible at the track, just because we're paying so much money to be there and we don't get to see these people all the time. but take out your phone and take a few pictures, or ask your buddy to take a few pictures with you in them. You know, people help other people out in the same way that we do when we're trying to get our buddy on track, right? So it should be a group. It can be a group thing. And it can be a lot of fun, especially like with the power of collaborating with your other friends.
Yeah, I think we don't. Well, okay, so personally, I take advantage of as much of the professional photography as I can get. But that's not all. I don't always use my professional photography just for Instagram. I'll get into that in another episode. But we need to show the fun side, not always just the race car side, especially if you're, I don't want to say that I want to be an influencer, but at the same time, I would prefer that somebody would see my post and be like, man, Honda Challenge looks fun. Let's race Honda Challenge, right? That's on my personal side. On the podcast side, we try to be diversified. That's why you're here with the Spec E30 perspective, right? But you need to show how much fun it is. You need to show the track family. You need to show, that it's, yeah, you grind in the garage, but you also have to do a little grinding at the track. Maybe. God forbid. Hopefully you don't,
yes. Right. But the other cool thing about here, just to kind of like expand your mind, is you could take it and run with kind of any angle of what we do, because it's not just going to the track, it's getting to the track, it's preparing for the track, it's what we bring to the track, it's how we get our mind right when we're at the track. It's how there's so many different angles that you could come in and talk about that maybe haven't been as, publicized, and maybe that's something that someone finds really interested in. That's the kind of content that gets shared and gets you a really solid following of like-minded people, and also puts you in a position, to want for sponsors to want to work with you.
Yeah. I lucked out. I'm very blessed and fortunate. I can put it that way. I lucked out in two respects. James at IPG Parts, he put out a casting call on Instagram, said, hey, put together a package if you want support from us. So I did, and I was selected. It's a very, very rare opportunity. I don't see a lot of casting calls. When I do see casting calls on social media, it's usually just for like a flat discount. Some companies come to mind like Driven Gear Oil or Mishimoto. It's all a ratio. You have over 1,000 followers, you get a 10% discount. You have over 5,000, you might get the 20% discount. It's all a difference on that ratio and some algorithm that a corporation put together. But my opportunity is a true partnership. I talk with James and the guys down there about what I'm struggling with. When I come up with a solution, or we come up with a solution, I share it, I post about it. And it's just to be beneficial to the community. The other thing I lucked out with is randomly with the brand new car, a random Euro car like page picked it up. I don't know if they found a hashtag. I don't know what happened. I just woke up one day and I went from like 500 followers to 2,500 followers. Now, on the subject of focused topics, I can tell you that the people who like follow me because I was on that car page, they don't like any of my hiking posts. They don't like any of my I'm on the grill posts. They only like my race car posts at the racetrack. They don't want to see me working on it either. So my race car posts at the racetrack will get 200 likes, 300 likes. My race car in the garage, me putting a new brake kit on, will get 50. So you have to know what people like to see, or what the people who are following you like to see. That's pretty important.
Yes, it is.
So we've sort of beat around the bush a little bit, but let's talk about specifically for motorsports and what we do, what do you think the best platforms are for folks to be on?
In terms of what goals, though, in terms of just growing their personal brand and getting their name out there?
Yeah, let's talk about growing your brand. Maybe if we could say which ones would be better suited for different types of content, and then which ones are just better for growing brands. Maybe there's a combination that's better for growing followers or growing your brand or reaching new partners, potential partners. I'm not sure how we can attack it. I know a trend that I've noticed early on, earlier this year, was Instagram Reels get a lot of attention. They don't translate into followers, though. So let's talk about Instagram first. Who should have it, maybe, and what benefits can we get from Instagram?
So just as a disclaimer, this could be a whole podcast episode. And I will start out by saying that I will say, it's somewhere close with TikTok and Instagram with what is kind of the hottest social media platform right now. They both yield high sales for companies, but the main difference is that you're seeing a lot of younger users on TikTok where you're not seeing those young users on Instagram yet. And it sort of depends who you're targeting. If I have a client that wants me to get them, that cares nothing except about how many followers they have, and they want to have 100,000 followers in 6 months, that's great. But I would tell them that without a good reason for just wanting that many followers, and being able to gain them organically, paying for followers isn't something you ever want to do, because sure, it'll show that number that you have X amount of people following you, but those people aren't going to interact with your content. And if someone goes to your profile and sees you have 200,000 followers, but you have 60 posts and they only get 4 likes on all of them, then they know that something's fishy is up, right? It takes work to build a brand. You're creating an online reputation, and you're in which your voice and your values shine through your content, and along with your creativity and your personality and your authenticity. Those are all things that you're subconsciously looking at when you're looking at someone's Instagram profile and deciding if you want to follow them, with the exception of if it's a model or something. That's different.
Are you kidding? All the models try to follow me, and they go into my secret DMs and they want me to find them there. No, that's not...
I think we should call them bots, not models.
But so we've talked about this before, but not on this podcast, but in general, the brands, the companies that are looking for folks, they're looking for people who, I don't know the term, but essentially it's easy for us to generate sales for them.
So ideally someone that has, an established brand across multiple platforms.
Okay.
And that may look different across Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'd say those are the 3 big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Not many people are looking on LinkedIn for that kind of thing.
Or Twitter.
Yeah, or Twitter. Twitter's a little bit outdated. I think things changed when, Musk bought it.
It's always been an opinion platform. And I think that's been its weakest link for what we are looking to do as race car drivers, time trialers, those folks.
And the biggest difference between, say, Instagram's popularity and Facebook in terms of what businesses are thinking is that, generally speaking, you're going to find less opinions on something like Instagram because it's more photo-based, even though, companies and individuals do utilize those captions,
Yeah. my biggest thing was there's something I was reading something, some article, probably while I was stuck on the train, but essentially it was about how does your profile translate easily to making sales for the other company. So that's where it's a real partnership, right? Because your brand and their brand sort of have to align. And then your strategic posting needs to align with their sort of branding itself. Go ahead.
And what those brands are looking for, those future potential partners, they're looking for some type of consistency in the messaging. Are you clever? Did you put effort into making this post, or did you kind of just whip something together? Is there a good range of different types of content? I think effort is a big thing. And even if you only have 700 followers, but you have people that are, you have 20 people that are commenting on your posts regularly, that's massive engagement, because that tells that potential brand scout that, hey, this person may not have like crazy, 6-figure digit followers, but the followers that they do have are very engaged with them, which, in turn tells them that they have an increased chance of being able to make sales if they were to partnership with that person's brand.
Yeah. And we've talked about this. Engagement on a post helps you in the algorithm. So
it does. It's like posting a reel, which is kind of the best thing you can do,
right,
for your, to be bumped up.
So I post reels. I'm actually kind of picky about the reels that I try to post. I don't just throw up reels for the heck of it, but I post reels because it brings attention to my profile, whichever one, the personal profile or the podcast profile. But I'm very strategic. I have friends who are trying to build their brands. I have friends who are trying to start businesses or have established businesses. And I go out of my way to start conversations on their posts because I know it helps them. So
it does. And especially with all the new features, and to circle back really quick, or to kind of include what you were saying earlier when you asked, what the best social media platform is, we have to remember that Facebook and Instagram are both owned by Meta now. So you're starting to see a lot of the same features. Now you can check out on Facebook in the way that you've been able to on Instagram for the past year and a half. And that's because of this big merge within Meta. But
I'll be,
posting. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'll be honest. I drive through Instagram and I just say, put it on my Facebook too. That's how lazy I am. But
it's an easy solution. They had it set up that way so that everything was integrated smoothly and you could do that.
Right. That
is a great feature. But with that being said, I will say that you should try to switch up your content a little bit in terms of at least the caption. A lot of times people are more willing to read a longer caption on Facebook than they are on something like Instagram. Instagram, they kind of want that like tagline caption that's a little bit funny or whatever. Whereas Facebook is a really good place to like link to a blog. And that reminds me earlier when you were saying that you woke up and you had 2,500 followers. Were you on a form that was linking to your social profiles? Is that what you were saying?
No. So, I can't remember. It's like Euro race car blog, but they don't actually have I don't even know if that was them. I don't remember which one it was, but it was some very European specific race car only, IG. They have no website, nothing. They just do posts on IG. And I mean, they have thousands of posts and they have millions of followers. And then for whatever reason, they found my car. They stole all my pictures, whatever, don't care. Posted it on their platform, on their channel, for lack of a better word, their channel, and then tagged me in it. And then I got a bunch of followers. Just overnight.
Okay. So that you did get really lucky there. Dang.
Yeah.
I would say, so if you happen to gain that traction just from, having shared your knowledge, your newfound knowledge on this forum, that's such a great way to build a really good following across different platforms, because a lot of the people that are reading these forums, it's because, they're into the same thing you are. They're looking for a solution to a problem. And if you can help them solve that problem with your information, then they're going to be more likely to want to follow your content and engage with you. It's the same thing across YouTube, right? YouTube can be, extremely lucrative if done the right way. And a lot of those people that start out or that are gaining this YouTube following is because they are using their social media presence to also assist them with building that. And it's the same way with any kind of written blog. Any way you can get those keywords in there that will pop up when someone is searching something, especially when it's in a small world like the Honda Challenge race world. I think that documenting what you're doing is probably one of the best things you can do, even if you just scribble it down on a notepad in your phone and then eventually put it in a Word document on your computer, because that's content that you can, change over time and also use across different platforms. So a big thing on social media, remember, you're not trying to say 100,000 different things about Honda Challenge. A lot of times you're just trying to say one thing, but you're trying to say it in a bunch of different ways, right? That's kind of a lot of the strategy that we see, especially on a platform like Instagram.
Yeah. The forums are not dead. They're not as lucrative, at least for me. I do have a post on Honda Tech that has 82,000 views that didn't translate into any followers, but it's a very traveled
you can
forum. I'm pretty sure I can.
You may not be. Were you not on social media at the time, or did you not link anything to it?
Oh no, it's all there. Even my personal car build has 30,000 views on that, on the new car.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't necessarily translate, but here's another thing, another difference. My wife's going to yell at me because I said again and about 50 times already, but whatever. The Instagram is not a place for how to upgrade your brakes. Facebook, even the Facebook groups, you could write up a how-to on how to do something, whatever, change your oil, change an axle, rebuild an axle, whatever. They're terrible search engines. So when you go to search for something, you're probably not going to find it. But when you go to Bing, Google, whatever search engine you use, the forums always come up. And that's why I think they're never going to go away. So I think you should always have a forum presence, and probably, if their profile stuff allows, link your social media or put it in your signature or whatever. Those are really good.
And even when you're using search engines, I mean, there's times where I've Googled a specific question and it'll show up, a Facebook post from 6 years ago will show up and I'll get the answer that I need. I will agree with you that the search engines that Meta provides us on Facebook and Instagram are lacking in a humongous way. It is hard to find things and it's hard to find some information, but if you can get strategic about how you're linking your different, social medias, I'm definitely going to consider blogs social media, because it's media and it's, aimed to be social. On these forums, you have a lot of people asking questions, but if you can get creative about how you link those together, I think that can definitely be a huge bump in both followers and engagement, which are the two big things that really you're looking for when you are trying to build a brand if you're a racer.
Yeah. So that's the key takeaway right now at this point, is that as a racer, time trialer, autocrosser, whoever's looking for partnerships you're looking for that engagement in the followers. So you want the activity level and followers. And there are things that we can do to help those grow, both as in the engagement. I purposely help engagement of my friends, but also to grow followers. And at least for me on Instagram, because I believe that's going to be the better long-term platform over TikTok. TikTok, it's got its political battles to fight, but also it's the younger demographic, and the younger demographic doesn't necessarily have the expendable income that folks are looking for, or that brands are looking for to team up with you. You know, they need the folks that have a good job. They have expendable income, money to waste, basically.
Exactly. The people that are doing this strictly as a hobby, they're not trying to, make all of their money by going racing. I know that you and I both know people that do that,
Right.
and wow, are they lucky, but they're also probably some of the hardest working people that we know.
Right. And let's not kid anybody. When you attempt to grow your social media, it's going to take work.
It's a commitment.
Yeah, it's a commitment.
But I'd like because it shouldn't be daunting. It shouldn't feel like a chore. Start with an easy goal. Like if you want to commit to posting twice a week, then set yourself a reminder and start finding content. Like, you can go through your camera roll and see what pictures you have and what that triggers, is a thought for like what that post subject could be. And I mean, it's 2023. We all carry around a smartphone that can take pretty dope ass pictures and video. Like, who are we kidding? We're all content creators in our own ways. And we should be having fun with this, like, don't take it too seriously, but also, honor your commitment to yourself that you're going to like post twice a week. And when you do that, make sure that before you post, you choose like 5 profiles to interact with, and not just like their posts, but, start up a conversation with them. Just like Colin, you were saying you like to do with your friends, which that is a really good friend, by the way, you guys. That's a good friend, someone that interacts with you on their social, especially when they know that you're trying to grow. Another cool way to kind of like, if you don't know where to start, but you want to, set a goal for yourself to grow your social media, go look at other people, like go to the discovery tab in your Instagram and look at other influencers or other people that, have more of a following or are more established than you are. I'm sure it's not going to be hard to find them. See what they're doing and see what type of questions they're asking and what types of responses they're getting, what kind of content they're posting. It really can be super fun, especially if you're getting other people involved and, you're having your friends in it. You're asking some compelling questions, or you have a funny story, or it's just everything is content. And if you can relay it in a similar way across a couple different platforms, and you can stay consistent with how often you do it, then eventually you will see success. And it's just a time thing. If you commit to posting twice a week for the rest of the year, I bet that you will have, if as someone that hasn't posted regularly for maybe 6 months, I bet that they will double their following just by staying consistent in that slight way.
Yeah. Always be opportunistic. Don't be afraid to take the picture and then figure it out later. Don't make it a chore. I know you said twice a week. That's probably as good as I'm going to get, but I'm sure it's not optimal. Do you think there's an optimal post pattern?
So it does, but it depends. It's always different for every client. And that's because you have different people that are online at different times, right, because they're in different parts of the country, or, with me, that's kind of, not an exception because a lot of the people or everyone I work with actually is local and in my time zone. But I will say just the differences between like when my equine clients are online versus the racers is night and day. Apparently horse people actually sleep and racers don't ever sleep.
Nope. We don't sleep.
But exactly. But this is also where, you know, there's a lot of tools out there that can help you with not only like building analytical reports of like when people are visiting your profile, but like how they're engaging with you. And, you know, understanding those comes with time, but there are some services that make it really easy. There's also a lot of free tools to use. Yeah, 2 times a week isn't like exactly ideal, but it all depends on like the level of growth. You know, if you post 2 times a week all year round and you're posting content that is really engaging, then there's no reason that your brand couldn't grow just as fast as someone that's posting a reel, a carousel, and 3 static posts every single week. So 5 posts a week consistently for the year. It just depends like how good the content is, how well it is resonating with that target audience. There's a lot of different variables in there, and that's why there's not really like one solution to everything. But that's also why it's so fun. It's a challenge, right? And that's why we like racing. Like, I don't think any of us would like to go racing if we went out there and won every single race, you know, and we were just racing alone, right?
No, I would hate it. But Honda Challenge is turning out that way this year. The bums, they're not coming out to play. So, but I'm not winning either.
There's not that many racers registered for June. Yeah.
Yeah, there aren't many registered for June Joust. It's disappointing. I hope they hear this and they take the stick out of their rear and they start driving again. But that's a whole different topic. So you talked about carousels, reels, static posts. Those are all Instagram-ish specific, right?
So they are, but now they're, because again, Meta is also Facebook and Instagram.
Right.
You know, you can share reels on Facebook. It does get more difficult though, because you'll have to redo the audio. So a lot of the audio that you have available to you on Instagram is not available on Facebook. So the only reels that, you know, really work for sharing, and at least with what I'm doing, are reels that have their own original audio. So no like Ice Cube playing in the background or anything cool like that.
Oh, I spend more time picking out Biggie, Ice Cube, whoever. I spend so much time picking out my song and then making sure it's like the right section of the song. And I know that the song actually goes longer than the attention span on the post. So you got to get like the juice up in the front 5 seconds or so. I spend a lot of time on that,
Yep.
Probably too much, but I have fun doing it. So that's the important part.
Dedication. You know, that means you want it to be good and you're putting the effort into it. Like, I like it. There's nothing wrong with that. I will say you should strive to find an audio that's trending that you like, because more people are going to see that reel. And it sounds like you were posting reels to get more insight, not necessarily engagement. So if you can reach a broader audience by using a trending audio, which is what will happen, versus a non-trending audio, that should help you boost your views.
Well, I think I use on my reels, it's all original audio because I always have something to say. Obviously, I have a podcast, so I like talking. It's more for my static posts that when they see it, I sort of want the music to provide some context. So that's sort of what I go for, but I'm not sure if it works, but I have fun trying. So
it's hit or miss with that. I would say get really good about being equal with like when you do post a static post, don't add music to every single static post. And the reason I say that is because sometimes if people are on their phones in like an office or a doctor's office or somewhere where they want to be quiet, but they don't want to silence their phone necessarily, right, they're going to scroll past those reels because they know that they make noise. But they're going to want to slow down for a carousel post, which is just multiple photos, or for that static post. And they're going to slow down for it because they're usually not counting on it having music with it.
Right.
That's only something that we see on like 3% of posts. So it may actually cause people to swipe by your content if it's like a regular thing every time.
People don't swipe past my content, especially with music, because I spent a lot of time trying to figure that out.
If you say so, boss.
People do what they do. That's part of the game that we're going to play with the social media and trying to grow it. I do data and analytics for a job. That's what I do. And I understand that the environment changes. So what you think you figured out for 2022 probably isn't going to work through the entirety of 2023. It's probably already broken. So you're always going to be chasing that nugget, in my opinion.
You are, because it's forever changing. It's constantly evolving. And that's what makes it fun. It's also why people like me have a job.
Yeah. Because
it's our job to stay up on these trends and, realize that they're trends before they've peaked as trends.
Yeah. That's what the professionals are here for. So let's cut to that a little early, in my opinion, because I still have some more stuff. I need to give you credit for some things, and then I need to talk through some stuff. But how or when should somebody call you as an individual and say, I'm trying to grow my media? What circumstances do they need professional help?
I'm really open to doing strategy sessions. I haven't put this up on my website yet, but it's definitely something I've offered to friends.
What is that website?
And it's a great... So horsepower-marketing.com. And my socials are the same, horsepower_marketing for Insta. And you guys can feel free to message me. My email is listed there too, and my phone number is also on my website. I'm happy to share some of the knowledge that I have with people, especially if it gets them more into wanting to promote themselves, because that only gives me more room to grow too. A lot of people don't have the time or, frankly, the desire to want to be active on social media. And that's really where I come in with, because I do not only social media management, which is managing media across a diverse, plethora of platforms, blog posts, websites, social media like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, like we talked about. I guess if people have questions and they want to know where to start with their business, that would be a really good time to talk to someone like me, because it can help steer them in the direction that they want to go in, as opposed to maybe spending a lot of time like learning 10 different skills that, end up being irrelevant to the end goal. Strategy sessions for sure. Someone that has a lot of content that is at the track regularly and pays for the photographers. Maybe they are starting an Arrive and Drive program, and they really want to up their social media presence because they have nothing at all. That would be a really good time to work with me. From the get-go, it makes things a little bit easier. Sometimes it's harder to take over something that's already established but has maybe been inactive. I am always happy to ask questions and free of charge, just to because it could always lead to a future client, and I'm always open to that. And it's also, more for me learning about like, what do my clients want? How else can I reach my clients? If there's a new service that they're particularly interested in as a group, but it's not something that I'm offering yet, then I'm learning something, so it goes both ways.
Yeah. So some of the credit that you get for me and this podcast is my website. And apparently after this conversation, I need to go into Wix and edit it and get a blog post going. So I can be like...
You do, and great searchability. You know, if you put in a blog post all about Honda Challenge and it's 5 pages long, and there's all these great SEO tags of words that people actually search, that means that your website is going to be way higher up there, you know, in Google land when those searches are going through the interweb.
Oh, you just said SEO something. That's above my head. It's already above my head, see?
So the reason that blog posts work phenomenally well as a, you know, social media content is because of the power of SEO, which is, God, what is SEO? Search engine optimization.
Okay.
And that means, you know, if someone is searching something about digital marketing and motorsports, then I want to make sure that my blog includes a lot of different, you know, synonyms for both digital marketing and motorsports, and said in many different ways throughout the blog post, because I know that that's going to catch on the search engine smarts, which is the SEO. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me. I just have to figure all that jazz out. But, you know, I'll have to hit you up. We'll see.
Yeah, I'll help you with that.
So, summarizing.
Ooh, and
go ahead. When you say ooh, that means that's good. Ooh is good.
It is good. I know one of the things you wanted to ask me was when someone needs a website.
Yeah.
I would say don't pay for a website and don't go to the trouble of setting up a website unless you've gone to the effort of making yourself like a professional deck. And that can be like even a PowerPoint. You know, you can do a lot of fancy things in PowerPoint. I'm sure that you all remember being in the computer lab in elementary school and learning how to work PowerPoint.
Yo, get out. I'm way older than that. Stop that.
Oh, so am I the young one here? I guess I am younger than you.
Yeah, but by apparently like 30 years. Are you kidding me? PowerPoint in elementary school.
No?
Get out of here.
Yeah. Elementary school, for real.
I would think I graduated college when it came out, but okay.
Oh, wow. Oh gosh, I'm sorry, Con.
Yeah, man. This gray came naturally, man. Are you kidding me?
All right. So, I would say the only time that you need a website is if you are actively, and by actively, I mean, you know, putting monetary effort forward and you've dedicated time to posting every week and, you know, you've made it a goal that you want to get sponsored. I feel like that's the only time as an individual, like, you know, branding yourself and just putting yourself out there. You don't really need a website for that. And honestly, I would discourage that because it costs money and it's a lot of effort and it's a lot to maintain. You could be way more proactive with your time and literally just make a pitch deck. I made the PowerPoint joke because that's a really easy place to make those, but you could use, I mean, I'm sure that you could do it in Canva. You could use InDesign in Adobe. Like, you could do a lot of things, but basically just putting together something that you can share with potential partners or, you know, people, maybe current partners that might have other partner friends that want, you know, that would love to work with someone like you. Highlight some things, you know, what can you offer this brand? You know, who are you? What do you do? Like, put stuff together, write all about yourself, make it a few pages long, make it look pretty, share it with your friends, and have that in your back pocket for when you need it. And you can, you know, kind of send it out to different brands. I wouldn't really recommend like cold calling and just emailing random businesses. You really want to kind of form a relationship with them before you just send them a sponsorship deck. It just may not be viewed as very tasteful, depending on the type of brand that you're trying to work with. But having something like a pitch deck about you and what you can offer these partners is invaluable because you never know when something like that may arise, you know, when someone can ask you for something like that.
Oh yeah. In my sponsorship and partnership episode, cold calling, cold solicitations definitely get you the least amount of positive feedback. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
It's a highly competitive market. So you need to know people. You need to be a known quantity. That's sort of why you develop your brand in the first place. It's so that you can meet people, network, become that known quantity, and then you can start reaching out to folks. So
exactly. And if you find that folks are starting to reach out to you, or if you really are growing and, maybe you've reached like a 10,000 follower milestone, which is fabulous, by the way, for someone in our world, like our local racing world. The only person I can think of off the top of my head that has that many followers is Christina Lamb, and she's a great example of someone that's kind of stayed on brand with her content. It's pretty much all racing stuff. And by the way, just to circle back, I don't want to discourage you, Con, especially from posting something that isn't car related. I know that your hiking photos got less likes, but it is cool to be able to switch it up sometimes and show people that you are a real human and that you don't just do race car stuff. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, my wife supports me, so I have to show that I support my wife in her hobbies. So it's also some healthy stuff for me to do. And I had a podcast on your health and racing, and it's kind of important. So I got to work on that myself. So that's why I posted it. Just all full circle.
And it just makes your content even more personal to you, and that makes it more unique. And that's a good thing.
Yep. So we're sort of, I think I'm out of stuff, kind of. But I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about giveaways?
I like giveaways. If you have enough of a following, you kind of have to be a little bit established before you can start with a giveaway. If no one knows who you are, then it will be harder for them to want something from you, even if it is free. Because remember, a giveaway is still effort on, the person that is signing up for the giveaway's end.
Yeah, so my giveaways consist of tag 2 people who should be listening to this podcast. And that's all I ask on Instagram. And so I'm going to do one. I'm going to do version 2. We're going to do another pyrometer and air pressure gauge. I'm not sure when I'm going to release that because I don't have it in my hands yet. I will be ordering from OG Racing, but I haven't done it yet, and we're recording before I've done it, so I can't produce a date. But that's all I ask is, do you know somebody who should be listening? Post 2 people who should be listening.
When after the last giveaway, did you notice an increase of followers when you posted that post and had those people tagged?
I did. It wasn't as whirlwindy as I wanted it to be, but I'm adamant that your tire pressures and tire temperatures are so important that I want to do another giveaway, and I don't care how productive it is.
They are so important.
Yeah.
I think that's a great giveaway.
So, I just want to give stuff away and hopefully do some promoting in the meantime. But, yeah, I think I gained several dozen followers from it. So it's not, I keep everything measured. When I do a giveaway, I'm not looking to go from, I don't even know how many followers I have. That's how bad it is, at least for the podcast. But I'm not looking to go from 100 to 1,000, right? I'm looking for some instrumental gain, and I'm looking for an instrumental gain from a very focused group. Racers, potential racers, time trialers, autocrossers, HPDE folks who want to get faster. That's the focus. So if I can gain handfuls at a time, it's a success for me.
So you have 348 followers on the Blind Apex podcast
you're
right now.
Stalking me.
And I am, because I have a great recommendation. Con, if I were you and I was doing a giveaway with OG merchandise that I'd purchased from them, I would reach out to OG, which in this case, you would just be reaching out to me.
Sweet.
Because I manage all their digital marketing. And you would reach out to me in hopes that we could collaborate together on social media and that I could help you to announce that you're doing this giveaway because OG has more followers than you, but also you know that the target audience is the same for both of you.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to reach out to, even if it's a long anchor parameter, right?
Yep. It'll be a long anchor and probably the Joe's tire pressure gauge. But I might do a long anchor and then reach out to long anchor too. So
that's another good idea. I'm really, really glad that you're thinking like this because the worst that they can say is no, or actually that's not true. The worst they can do is not respond to you. The second worst thing is they say no. But, even if you look up long anchor social media, I'm pretty sure that they don't have much going on there. Maybe they're looking for opportunities and they would be like, oh, this is amazing. If you're going to keep doing this, we want to send you, a year supply of parameters so you can give one out every month long on your podcast. Just, mention Longacre. The possibilities are endless and you never know till you try.
Yeah, they have almost 4,000 followers, Long Anchor Racing. And
they do, and they've started to post more consistently over the last year, which is good.
Yeah, they have not been consistent.
They have not, but you know what? You could always shoot them a message, and if they read it and don't message you back, shoot them another message. See if you could get a hold of their corporate. See if you could email them. Like, you don't have to harass them, but there's always ways, and sometimes you'd be surprised what you can get if you're just brave enough to ask.
Well, we'll see. More stuff to give away if it plays out. So we'll see. I'd be happy.
Yeah.
If I could use the podcast to help gear up listeners, let's do it. Doesn't bother me. So let's summarize what we really need to do on our social medias to help them grow. Because we've dabbled, we've talked around some topics, we've talked through topics. So let's summarize what folks need to do.
Establish who they are and what they're offering to their audience. That's step one, and that's important.
And I think in that step, you need to set goals for yourself.
125%. Yes. All the goals, and make attainable goals. You can always have secondary goals where okay, I had extra time this week and I got my 2 mandatory posts out. Now I want to do something fun because I have an extra 35 minutes in my afternoon or something. It should, part of that goal should be also furthering your own education. All right. If you're going to, build this social media presence on your own and build this brand and manage it, then you're going to have to stay up to date on trends. You're going to have to find some good literature to be subscribed to read. I'm sure that there's great accounts to follow on the subject as well. Basically, you need to be committed to being immersed in the world of content creation and social media management. Whether that's committing 20 minutes a day to reading an article, I think that's a really good start, and that's going to help. That's going to be the difference between you and someone that is doing the same thing minus that 20 minutes a day of work.
Yeah. Something that I personally need to work on is researching apps for basically on my phone, because I do most of my editing on my phone. I won't lie. I try to keep it simple and fast and easy. That way it can be done, and it can be done consistently. But for me, some sort of photo editor that's not just the standard iPhone stuff. And then maybe I'd need to look into it, is some sort of video editing on the phone. That's better than the standard stuff. But it's work I need to put in. It's work that you need to put in. Once you hit a plateau with what's based on your phone or what you know already, see what's out there that's new. that's being innovative. And then that way you can be more innovative.
And that's also a great way to engage with your friends' content. You know, when they post a really dope reel, ask what software they use to edit it with, because what I've learned is there are so many different tools for this stuff, and a lot of people use different stuff. Like, I don't think everyone uses like the same video editor and repost app and photo editor that I use. I have tried a lot of them, and there are some that are easier in different ways and some that provide different features. And Con, I'd be so stoked to talk to you all about that, and kind of point you in the right direction, because I know what you're looking for in terms of like simplicity and ease. Unfortunately, in this day and age of smartphones, we're kind of getting gypped, because now that apps are a thing, a lot of these apps aren't free anymore.
Yeah, I mean, for the basic user, yes, that you don't want to have to pay for 5 apps, right? And I think that's where this collaboration needs to occur, right? So this is another thing that you need to do, okay? So you need to collaborate. You talked about doing things with friends at the track. Tag them. They're friends. You're friends at the track, but you have different circles, right? So collaborate on posts when you can. Engage with each other. That's really important. And the other thing you can do is, while you're both doing those things, you can try one app, they can try another app, and then maybe eventually you can figure out what app works best for you. It's probably not going to be the same one your friend's using. Like you said, you don't use the same apps everybody else uses, but you need to find which one works for you. So if you're going to, ask people who are doing it and engage with them and see which one will work best. So
there's honestly never a bad time to ask a question. And especially like this goes in person without saying, and especially in our life at the track. But I wish that I feel like people don't feel the same way on social media. But I feel like that's a great place, because if you think about it, you know, social media is a glorified exchange of information, right? And whether that be like uplifting or enlightening or educational or downright bizarre, like it's still an exchange of information. And opening up the conversation is just really beneficial to everyone involved. And it doesn't even have to be on social media. You know, it can be in the Honda Challenge group text or whatever. Like, hey, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, did you guys see so-and-so's video? Like, it was really awesome. Do you know what they used to edit it? Or whatever. You know what I mean?
Letting all the secrets out. The Honda Challenge group chat and everything.
Yeah. Oh, I know about that.
I think every group has a group chat, so that's not a far-fetched idea. The other key is going to be the consistency. And I've had conversations with folks, because I personally don't like to reuse my pictures. And then I have friends who are like, the attention spans are short. In 6 months, they won't know that you reused it. Maybe it's just a creator in me that won't let me reuse it, but that's why I stash pictures. That's why I buy lots of pictures. That's why I soak up all the free pictures I can get my hands on, right? Friends, candid pictures, posed pictures, action shots on track. I'll take any picture I can get, because I want fresh stuff all the time. But
I respect that, but also you shouldn't feel too bad about reusing stuff, especially if you can change it up a little bit, whether it's a crop difference or, there's some really cool apps where, like, I'm sure you've seen, it's one photo, but you're swiping across it to see different parts of it zoomed in. Do you know what I mean? Did I create a good, like, this little picture?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so that's a cool app. I mean, that one's like $60 a year, but it's so worth it.
60 a year?
Yeah.
Well, everybody start an LLC and start writing this stuff off. Oh.
100%. So, there's ways to repurpose content. I don't think that I could do this job, because the whole point of having my own business was to be able to be afforded the luxury to do other things that I am passionate about, which is like galloping racehorses in the morning. That only takes like 3 or 4 hours out of my time every morning, but it still feels like a work day. And, I don't think I could work 12 hours after riding for 3 or 4 hours. The only way that this works and that, I can be consistent and that this is economical time-wise is because content can be repurposed. Yes, it's a skill learning how to repurpose it, but, you can take a blog post and turn it into a TikTok and then turn it into a reel and then, on and on and on. And you just have to be really good about doing that, because that's ultimately what saves you time, makes your life easier, and then makes you money in return.
Okay, fine. I'll admit I was wrong.
I'll help you out with that too. That can be in our next conversation.
Okay. I'll take all the help I can get, because I almost feel like I hit a plateau, but almost not. It's not so much my content creation, it's the time spent. My real job, because Lord knows this doesn't pay any bills. It just creates bills. Pulls me in a lot of different directions sometimes. So that can be a challenge. The other thing we talked about that I think is really key on growing your social media is consistency. You as a person establish it, right? You talked about going, if you're inconsistent, try to do a couple times a week. If you are doing a couple times a week, add another one, maybe 2, maybe expand to reels because they get more hits, at least on Instagram. But the consistency also is in that time dedication that you're making. I don't want to say making, that you're trying to afford yourself every day to learn. Like, be consistent with your learning. That way you're always changing things up and you don't get stale like me. So.
And a good recommendation for you or someone like you that's in your position with being so busy with work. I know that you take the metro into DC, so you have some downtime. If you're feeling really beat after a day, after like a long work day, and on your to-do list is, you've committed to doing the 2 a week, but you want to post 1 more. If you really don't have it in you that week, then just do something for yourself and like go on YouTube and watch a 20-minute video or however long it is on a subject that you want to know more about, whether it's about a guy that's reviewing different photo editing apps. Just like kind of make that effort. It could even be like, I'm sure that there's podcasts for stuff like that, just staying up on the trends and like keeping your mind on it will help you stay motivated to crank out that content.
Yeah. I mean, usually I'm listening to Race FF or like 91 Octane or Garage Heroes in Training, Late to Grid. I have lots of podcasts I could listen to and do listen to. And then I'm just trying to edit photos or make posts, or usually it's my dedicated time to comment on posts. So and get engage with folks.
Well
and I'll tell you, I think anyone who's commenting on somebody else's posts, once you start commenting consistently on somebody's profile and you're seen as I wouldn't say an expert, but somebody who's credible and not just a rando trash talker, you'll gain some following just in that alone, just in engaging in somebody else's posts. So that's my hot tip.
It's very powerful.
Yeah, that's my hot tip.
It's a pretty good hot tip.
Do you have any more summaries, hot tips, hot takes for folks?
I think that my hot tip is going to be that, as silly as it sounds, everything is content. If there's a question that everyone has asked at some point, then make content around it. everything is content. It can be silly. It can be minimal effort. It could be, sometimes like the things that take the least amount of time end up performing the best, right? It just depends how you go about it. Don't give up. It's not hard. It should be fun. It's just social media. And the best part about it is you're choosing what you're sharing with the world. So, no one can take it too seriously.
That's the best hot take, is to enjoy it, have fun, and
use it as a tool.
Yeah, absolutely. That should be your hot take. If you tell people everything is content, there's going to be a bunch of people taking pictures of the content of their toilets. We're going to go into chaos and anarchy, and but having fun with it is fine. So let's figure out where can they reach you again, just in case they missed it in the middle. They don't need to rewind.
My website is www.horsepower-marketing.com. And I'm on social media as horsepower_marketing. And I'm Liv Willis, and you guys might know me from around the paddock if you're listening in locally. If you're not, hopefully I will be at a track racing Spec E30 in the Lightning races with you guys.
Absolutely.
I'm always down to talk to people. I'd love to help, share some of the things that I've learned over the years. And I'm all about the networking and connecting with new people. If anything, it's a connection, and maybe that will come in handy sometime down the road.
Awesome. Just so you know, we're international. We have at least one listener in Germany and one in England.
Oh, wow.
Almost no one locally listens. By locally, I mean DC. It's like Fairfax, Chantilly, this, that, and the other. Pretty big in North Carolina. Pretty big in New York and Pennsylvania. I think the Northeast Honda Challenge folks want to try to get all our secrets. But yeah, we're spread far and wide. So you'll see Liv out there at the Nuremberg Ring or something in her E30 one day. So.
Oh, I can't wait. Dreams really will come true.
Right. Well, if you have the money to ship your E30 over there, you got plenty of money, girl. Don't worry about that. So
maybe that's my business goal.
It would be cheaper to rent an M3, pay the insurance, and accidentally trash it. So.
That's true, but
it won't be the same E30 on Maxxis tires sliding around. All right.
That's true.
Well, I think that's a wrap. Thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate all the assistance you've provided me, all the assistance all the expertise and assistance you've shared with our listeners. I really appreciate it. And thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. And I look forward to racing with you this weekend.
Yeah, let's go.
Until next time, keep working on yourself, keep working on the car, and let's get faster.